Hello, everybody. Leslie Tagorda, your brand astrologer and designer here, and we are back for another episode growing on the Leo season and talking about our sun sign, and specifically how we radiate our sun sign in our businesses and our brands. So I have a really big episode for you this week, and I want to make sure I go through everything. What we're going to be talking about is what the sun sign represents in your brand and your businesses, mistakes that can rise up when you're not using your sun sign. I'm going to also talk about 5 ways to radiate your sun sign in your brand and how to decipher your sun sign so you can really optimize those energies in your work. All right, our sun sign. So almost everybody's first step into astrology is through our sun sign, right? You probably read the horoscopes back in the day, when you had newspapers and you would open it up and you'd go straight to your sign and you'd read a little paragraph about what was going to happen for you that week. Well, that's all based on our sun sign, right? So when we look at our zodiac, or when somebody's like, hey, what's your sign? We always start with our sun sign. But then I also find the people who then end up starting to obsess over little smaller archetypes in their chart, like their Black Moon Lilith or all the other goddess archetypes. While yes, they are important, you can only really begin to cultivate all of those other shiny objects once you have a really solid foundation that is based in your sun sign. As I mentioned earlier, our sun sign is one of the main 3 pillars in our brand. I was talking to a client the other day. We were doing an astro brand reading, and you've heard me talk about the 3 main pillars of your brand: your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign. That's nothing different than other astrologers. We've been talking all about this, but one of the reasons why getting your sun sign is so important is because this is the foundational stepping stone. Rather than foundational, I would say this is the core of your brand. It's really important for this core frequency to be resonating at its highest vibration, that we're working well within this natural radiance that we have. Then, of course, we integrate our moon sign. We talked about the moon sign last month during Cancer season. And then we'll be talking about the rising sign, right? You're building upon our sun sign, and we're building all of these energies. But if you've ever played music before, and I am a musician, and when we tune even like a small ensemble or a full orchestra, the oboe starts, right? The oboe starts with one tuning note at A440. And if that oboist is not playing that one note in tune, it messes up the whole tonality of the orchestra, right? So normally the oboe will start playing, and then maybe like the woodwinds or the brass will start playing next. And then, that's kind of building the next structure. And then the layers start building. Now, if we don't get all of those things perfectly in tune, the music is just, it doesn't resonate. If you've ever heard like a children's orchestra or a high school band, and you're like, oh, you can tell, it's not totally great. It's mostly because they're not able to tune well. When you have 2 notes that are, they're playing like they should be playing an interval, but they're not tuning well, they don't resonate. And when they don't resonate, the sound doesn't amplify. The sound doesn't carry. The sound doesn't feel like it's right, even though it technically, somebody's playing a C, somebody's playing an E, that should sound nice, but something's not off. So just like in our business, when we're not really in tune to our foundational core of our sun sign, nothing else is going to really resonate or fit well. So let's talk about what our sun sign represents in our business. If you've been listening to me for a while, you know that I call the sun sign the soul of our brand, right? And Latin way of spelling sun is S-O-L, the soul, we add a U. It's, it's the inner essence of our being. The sun is the largest, most radiant force in our solar system. So of course, this will have a lot of sway. I mean, just think about it. We live our lives on a daily basis and our days are tracked by the sun. When we have our solar radiant expression in full resonance, we become confident, right? You see the sun shining in the sky day by day. It is shining so brightly, so confidently. It doesn't doubt what it does so naturally well, shining brightly. Right? When we understand and work in our sun's strengths, when we are able to recognize those strengths as our superpowers, then we get really clear on what we do so well. And when we get really clear on our brilliance, we're able to express and talk about our brilliance. And this creates impact. Okay, so our sun sign represents, yes, I talked about this earlier, our superpowers. Now, what are superpowers in our business, right? Our superpowers are just what we are so naturally good at. It's what we are, our genius. So if you've been, doing any kind of strengths finders or any personality tests, or you've been listening to other business gurus, they talk about the zone of excellence and they talk about the zone of genius. Right? The zone of excellence is like the things that we're just really good at, right? We worked hard, we went to school, we studied it, we're really good. But the zone of genius is kind of like comes from this place that we might not even really notice that we are in that zone because it comes so naturally. And because it comes so naturally, I found that a lot of us tend to actually dismiss this place because we're like, oh, well, if it's so easy for us, it must be so easy for somebody else. Oh my gosh, I know I've been so guilty of that. I remember I had a coworker who wasn't very tech savvy, and he was always having a lot of problems like navigating the computer, and I would kind of get frustrated with him because I'd be like, oh my God, it's so easy. You just have to do this, this, and this, and this, and then look in this folder, and then look in this folder. And then he would like equally roll his eyes at me, and because he's like, do you not see that this is so hard? It's not easy for you, like, for me, like it is for you, right? So I want you to get curious about, are you working in this zone of genius? Are you dismissing this part of your natural radiant ability that the sun sign represents, right? I really want you to notice that, yes, what you do naturally well, dig in there deeper. That is one of your superpowers, and it makes you uniquely you. You can also get a clue into your superpowers when you're just in the flow. You just love doing what you're doing, that it just seems like time stops. Like maybe you're creative, maybe you love writing, maybe you love knitting, maybe you love playing a musical instrument, maybe you love researching astrology charts like me, where all of a sudden all of this time has passed because you were in this complete state of flow. I bet you there is a correlation between that state of flow and your sun sign because you are totally enthralled with what you love doing. That is a sure sign of one of your superpowers. Our sun sign also represents our expertise. Now, sometimes our expertise, this is another one that sometimes we dismiss or sometimes we throw, you might hear me say this expression a lot, throw the baby out with the bathwater. But our experience, or rather our expertise, is really based on our experience and our mastery. So most of us will go through several different career changes and several different iterations, or if you're like me, you went to university or school and studied something very different than what you are studying or doing now in your life. And sometimes we just kind of throw out all of our past experience instead of really dissecting and understanding what in our past experience has given us the mastery of what we do now, what makes what we do so uniquely us and different from everybody else. So for example, if I may go back to the music theme again, I've only recently started talking about my classical music in what I do with astrology and branding. I used to kind of keep it hidden under the covers because I didn't think that it was that important. But when I really thought about, gosh, the mastery and the discipline and the training that I went through to become a professional musician, to compete and to show up on stage and to memorize things, and just like the sheer practice over and over and over again, like showing up every day to do something, I can see how that experience has really helped me and set up the structure for what I do right now in my business. And so I recently took a personality test called the Strengths Finder, and this is by the Gallup poll people. So you can, look up Strengths Finder and you can take this test. And Strengths Finder, different than astrology, where astrology is like the map of our highest potentials and our highest energies. We as humans, we have the free will to express those energies. And so when you take the Strengths Finders test, and what I've assigned this to a few of my high touch clients to take the Strengths Finders test, is because the Strengths Finders is mutable. It's looking at the strengths as you are expressing them right here and right now. And to me, it's cumulative also. It's built upon the experience that you have already come across. So for example, where I'm going with this is that one of my strengths is maximizer. And, I was trying to understand why this maximizer is so important. So I read about the maximizer. Okay, the maximizer is always trying to improve things, right? It can't just have, this polished, it can't just like have a party. It has to go all out on the party and make things bigger, make things better. And the next party that they have, make it even better, serve more delicious food, serve more delicious drinks. And the next party, have even better decorations. The maximizer is always up leveling. And I noticed this in my business. And then I really thought about it, and I looked back through my career and my education, and I was like, I have always been a maximizer, right? Even when I was talking about going to school and learning how to play the clarinet, and every day coming back and practicing the same thing, improving it little bit by little bit by little bit. So there's these things that we can see in our sun sign based on our expertise, where, it builds upon our unique approach to what we do so well, right? Because, there's many people that do exactly the same thing that you do, but your specific unique approach is built on your past experience and your past education. So remember, if you're not doing currently what you used to do, look at your past experience and build on top of that. Do not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Now, if you still need a little bit of help with this, go back to your client reviews and client testimonials and see what other people recognize in you that you might be having a hard time distilling for yourself. So now that we know all of these things about our sun sign, right? It's our expertise, it's our superpowers, it's our past experience, right? Now, the responsibility of our sun sign in our business and our brand is to create opportunities so that we can work in this superpower, in our zone of genius. I find that oftentimes we miss this crucial step, right? So if we're thinking about our business and creating opportunities, it could literally be creating an offering that is built around our zone of genius, right? I have made this mistake so many times in creating offerings that, would kind of be built around my zone of excellence, right? I can be a good writer when the timing is right. And I built part of my programming around, helping people craft all their messaging and giving them their coaching on their messaging. But you know what? I am not a copywriter. It's my zone of excellence. And I built this whole program, or like one big section of my program, around me having to deliver writing feedback. Oh my gosh, what a drain. right? But now that I'm super aligned with my sun sign, I know that as an Aquarius sun in the ninth house with Jupiter conjunct, everything that I have to do is based on purpose, it's based on meaning, it's based on shining brightly, it's based on those strengths of maximizing and optimizing and significance. So this very recently, I created a new offering that was built around all of the pieces from my zone of genius that's based in my natal sun conjunct Jupiter. And you know what? It excited me and it excited the people who wanted to work with me. It works so well when you recognize what you do so well and build opportunities so that you can radiate that creative expression. Now, creating an offering is just one aspect, right? But even when you're working in collaboration with somebody, this is being able to, I was talking with somebody today and she used the expression of the sacred no. Oh my gosh, I thought that was such a gem. That's coming in an upcoming episode, so I'm going to save that for later. But, she was saying, once she got really used to working in her zone of genius, working with the strengths of her natal sun sign, then she was able to just say no to everything else. And just the flood of opportunities that were so aligned for her that came just swelling into her life. I thought it was so beautiful. So my question to you is, are you working in your zone of genius? And do you know your sun sign so well that you are creating opportunities for you to constantly express yourself from your creative radiance as represented by your sun sign? So I hope you see why it's super important to get really intimate with your sun sign and to not just use it as a stepping stone, but to use it as the core foundation of the business and brand that you are building. When you're able to express your brilliance and uniqueness in what you do, and when you're able to create opportunities to work in your solar power. I really, really hope that you get this because, oh my gosh, can you just imagine if you were able to recognize your own genius and your superpowers, if you are able to distill the mastery you've always been using in your work, and if you could always be creating aligned next level offerings based on your soul's work. Oh my gosh, how confident would you be? How clear would you be? How brilliant would you be? So remember, the sun rules Leo. And I hope you listened to last week's episode, episode 28, all about Leo season. I also talked about the house by house where Leo operates. So if you want to dive in a little bit deeper, if you know where Leo is in your chart, your sun is going to give you the direction. Your sun sign, the sign and the house placement is going to give you even further direction on where to radiate your inner Leo. All right, so you're probably wondering, okay, I get it. I want to use the sun sign. I want to radiate my inner superpowers in my brand. How the heck do I do this? So just like I was talking about in our moon sign a few weeks ago about 5 ways to use your moon sign in your brand, I gave you some keys on deciphering all of the energies of your moon sign. So we're going to pull out those exact same elements. When you're looking at your sun sign, you want to look at 5 different things. You want to look at the zodiac sign, you want to look at the element, you want to look at the modality, you want to look at the house placement, and you also want to look at if there are any other aspects forming to your sun sign that are going to give you a different perspective of that energy. So with your sun sign, that zodiac sign, again, this is like the core energy that you need to be radiating from, right? And you already are radiating from that energy. So let's move this energy up. So for example, I am an Aquarius sun. And at the lowest vibration of an Aquarius, Aquarius can be kind of weird, kind of out there, kind of a misfit, but at its highest vibration, it can be future-oriented, society-oriented, humanitarian, and a tech lover. And so I fully embrace my Aquarius sun sign. I've always loved being an Aquarius, and I've always loved technology. That is 100% true. So the next thing you want to do is you want to look at your element. So we have fire, water, air, and earth. We know that we want to work within the strengths of our elements. So if you have a fire sun, you know that you are full of passion and full of energy and full of creativity. So be sure to create opportunities for you that allow you to bring all of that energy, bring all of that fire to your work. Now, if you have a water sign for your sun sign, this is kind of a little bit different, right? Because like our sun is the fiery element, and then now it's kind of with water. But with water, remember, it's a healing and it's a nurturing and it's an emotional element. So you'll be wanting to create opportunities that allow you to heal, to nurture, to be empathetic, to be emotional. If you have a sun in an air sign, air is about connecting with people. It's about learning. It's about intellect. It's a really social element. So make sure that you're using your sun sign and creating opportunities that allow you to be social, allow you to connect, allow you to think and have fun with your intellectual pursuits. And if your sun sign is in an earth sign, make sure that you're creating opportunities that allow you to be embodied, allow you to be practical, allow you to be physical, right? Earth sign is a receptive sign, and it's all about practicality and getting things done. So the next thing we want to look at is your modality. There are 3 modalities. We have cardinal, the starters, we have fixed, the problem solvers, and then we have mutable, the integrators that go with the flow. We can see all the parts, right? And so if your sun sign is a cardinal sign, you want to make sure that you are creating opportunities for you that allow you to think of the big ideas, allow you to start projects. Now, if you don't have a lot of fixed energy in your charts, you're going to definitely want to get somebody to help you delegate all of those things that need execution and production, right? Now, if your sun sign is fixed, then you are the problem solver. Make sure that you're creating opportunities that allow you to investigate, allow you to research, allow you to dig deep. Now, you may need some help with going with the flow. So make sure you build a lot of flexibility into your rigid schedules. Now, if your sun sign is in a mutable sign, you can see all of the different perspectives, right? To be able to use your wisdom. So next, we're going to be looking at the sun and its house placement. Remember the house placement, if we look at your natal chart and it's a round circle, it's divided into 12 different pizza slices. And each of those slices represents a field of experience in your life and business. I'll have on social media the house by house placement for the sun. So be sure to follow me on Instagram at New Moon Creative Co. or join me in my free Facebook group, The Savvy Luminary. I'll have graphics there for you. And then the last thing that we look about our sun sign is then we start to integrate different energies as represented by aspects or relationships that you may have to other planets or energies in your chart. So for example, I mentioned earlier that my sun is conjunct Jupiter, meaning that my sun and my Jupiter are at the same degree in Aquarius in the 9th house of my chart. So conjunctions mean that that these two energies are fully blended together. It's kind of like when you have a salt and pepper shaker. You have your salt and your pepper all in one shaker. There's no way to separate those two flavors when they're together in a shaker. Maybe that's not the best example, but that's the example that came to me right away. Now, if your sun is a trine in a harmonious flow with another energy, this other energy is going to just give this pleasant kind of flavor, this pleasant energy. It's not very strong, but it's definitely harmonious. It's going to feel in flow. Now, if your sun has a square to another energy, that other energy is going to be giving you experiences that may feel like friction, that may feel like tension, but they're going to be energetic triggers to your sun sign, pushing your sun sign to evolve even further. And if your sun is opposite of another planet or energy, this means that throughout your lifetime, your sun sign is going to be influenced and is going to be wanting to integrate with this other opposing energy. All of these different aspects are just flavoring your sun sign. Remember, don't really focus on the aspects until you're really good at tuning the core message, the core vibration of your sun's zodiac sign. Again, before you start adding any of these other elements, modalities, house placements, and aspects, make sure you're really clear on the archetypal energy that needs to come through your zodiac sign. So I have a really handy dandy worksheet for you called Radiating Your Sun in Your Brand. And I have it available for you on my Patreon account. So if you head over to patreon.com/The Savvy Luminary, I have this special worksheet for you. I also have downloadable PDFs of all of the calendars. I release them month by month. We have different trainings. You can catch replays of different workshops that I have. I have 4 different levels, so one for every price point. Head over to patreon.com/The Savvy Luminary. Oh, and before I forget, I wanted to extend a special invitation to you. It's not too late to jump into my membership, Luminary Rising. It's for spiritual entrepreneurs who want to get more in tune with their astrology. In August, we're taking a deep dive into our sun sign, and we have a special coaching and sun sign reading on Tuesday afternoon. It's not too late to join in. Come join us. It's a beautiful community of driven spiritual entrepreneurs using astrology in their business. Well, that's all I have for this week. I know it was a big episode full of lots of useful information. Again, head over to my Patreon site if you want a Radiate Your Superpowers worksheet to distill your sun sign in your brand. And if you want to join us in the month of August in Luminary Rising, my membership for spiritual entrepreneurs, where we really dig into our astrology so that we can show up as the leader we are meant to be, head on over to thesavvyluminary.com/luminary. If you join before 2 p.m. on Tuesday, 2 p.m. Pacific on Tuesday, you'll be able to join us for our group sun sign reading. If you found this podcast helpful and interesting, please consider heading over to Apple Podcasts, leaving me a rating and review. It helps bring up the visibility of this podcast so that this information can help more people just like you. All right, until next week, take care. Bye. Mahalo for listening to this brand new podcast. If you enjoyed learning about astrology for entrepreneurs, help me spread the word by sharing this podcast with your business besties, and hop over to The Savvy Luminary for links to episode notes and our free Facebook community where you can send me questions about astrology or branding, as well as connect with other like-minded businesses.